All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, State, do you have any opening statements?
We do, Judge, briefly.
You may proceed.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you very much for deliberating for several hours. For meticulously looking at the evidence, for carefully reviewing all the testimony and coming to a unanimous decision. Now comes the second part of the trial. In the state of Texas, there's two parts to a trial. The first part is called the guilt and innocence phase, which is where the main decision is whether a accused or a suspect committed the offense, whether he's guilty or not guilty. The evidence that is heard in the guilt and innocence phase is solely for that purpose. If necessary, if there's a guilty, then you have the second phase, which is the sentencing phase. And in this phase, there may be additional evidence in addition to what was used in the guilt and innocence phase to consider other factors, because of course, this is a range of 2 to 20 years in prison. In this particular charge with these facts, the defendant is not eligible for probation. It is only 2 to 20 years. And the additional information that I anticipate that you will hear is this is definitely going to be a much shorter process in the first trial, in the first phase, but we will be calling in 2 witnesses. We're going to be calling Regina, and we're going to be calling Jesus. And what I anticipate that they were going to tell you is what happened after the act was committed. What happened to them? What impact this has had in their lives from the moment that this act was committed. I also anticipate defense to bring in a few witnesses as well, probably witnesses that we consider character witnesses, and they will probably tell you some information about the defendant's life. And at the end of the day, or at the end of this trial, we would be asked for a fair and just outcome in this case. In closing, I will be giving you some factors to consider because I know it is a large range, and I know that all 12 of you have to agree to the number. So in my closing, I will give you some factors that will help you hopefully get to that number that we believe is fair and just. Thank you.
All right, defense.
Thank you. First of all, I also, on behalf of myself and Raymond, want to thank you. I had a lot of jury trials, and a lot of juries at 4:45 on Friday. We said, "Come on, guys, let's compromise. Let's do something." You guys did. A lot of people who said, "Hey, college football kicks off at 11. Come on, guys, let's compromise. Let's get out of here." You guys came back on Saturday and Sunday. You've gone above and beyond your duty. And the only thing I can ask from a jury is to carefully listen and to deliberate. And I'm sure you guys weren't, watching movies back there because you sent out the most questions I think I've ever had is 3. And I think you guys sent out like 12. And again, I appreciate that because that shows you guys are deliberating, you're listening, and you're thinking about everything. And that's all I can ask for. As a defense attorney, a lot of people ask me, is it hard defending, if you know they're guilty of they have done a lot of stuff. And I'm not saying that about Raymond. He has maintained, that he's not. Obviously, we respect your verdict. Like I said, the only thing we can ask for is a fair trial and a jury that listens to the evidence. And again, I appreciate that, and we respect that wholly. So please don't let anything I say take away from that. But this is the hardest part as a defense attorney. I get up here in closing, and I sit down and I'm like, yeah, I killed it. I did great. And you guys obviously came to a different conclusion. Again, I respect that. But it's like I play hockey, so it's like getting into a fight in hockey and then getting punched out and standing up and be like, hey, can we be friends? I'm sorry, I'm kind of sidetracking here. Like I said, it's difficult. Yesterday, contrary to some belief, defense attorneys do have some emotions, and it was a little bit emotional. So excuse me for that. Also, anything that I have done, like I said in closing, anything that I've done, you didn't like the way I questioned people. If you didn't like my reaction to the verdict, take it out on me. Okay? Go on Google, leave me a bad Google review. Please don't take it out on Raymond. That's my fault. My wife has told me that I had those reactions, and I still do. So again, I apologize. And I wanted to go on a diatribe about the justice system. And I don't know if you guys are aware that it's broadcast on YouTube and it's recorded and it stays there. And I'm not sure why. I get playing it live.
All right, excuse me. What does this have to do with, you're here for opening statements. That's not a part of opening statements. So counsel, if you make your opening statement to the jury about what you expect the evidence will show in your case, please. Okay, thank you.
You can see a lot of people here to support Raymond. Not all of them are going to testify. You're not going to be here all day. A few of them will. They're going to tell you the type of person that they know Raymond to be. Okay? They're not here to dispute your verdict or retry the case. Okay? Again, they respect it. I respect it. And they just want to, and I want to give you just a little bit of a different side of Raymond that you didn't hear in trial. So I just ask that you take that into consideration when you're thinking about what sentence to impose. You'll hear that Raymond has 0 criminal history. He's never been in trouble before. His twin sister is going to testify. Like I said, the prosecutors have a difficult job. I have a difficult job. You guys have the most difficult job. So we appreciate it. And all I ask for is to do exactly what you guys did in the first phase, to please consider everything when you make that determination on how many years. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to ask for the minimum. I'm going to ask for 2. You may not agree with me, and that's fine. But I've known Raymond for years, and that's what I'm going to ask for. But I just ask you to do what you did in that first phase, to please consider his family and the type of person that he is, other than what you heard. Obviously, take that into consideration as well. But that's all I ask of you. Thank you.
All right, state, call your first witness.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to admit all the evidence from the guilt and innocent phase into this punishment phase of trial.
No objection.
All right, it is admitted.
Thank you, Judge. Then the state would call Regina Garza.
All right, if you'll have a seat, you're still under oath. Make sure you keep your voice up so everyone can hear. All right, state.
Good morning, Ms. Garza.
Good morning.
How are you feeling after the verdict?
A lot of different emotions.
Can you go over them for us?
Relief. Sad. Hurt. My son has hurt. And we cared about Raymond. We loved him.
And when you found out that this happened, how did that make you feel?
Angry.
I want to talk a little bit about after you found out what Raymond did. How did that affect you?
It caused a lot of conflict between family
How so?
that put a lot of pressure on myself and my marriage. Our mental health has not been the same since then. I found out I was pregnant the same day that my son told me this.
How soon before your son told you did you find out you were pregnant?
10 minutes.
And is that your youngest daughter?
Yes.
Did that affect how you thought about being pregnant or how you felt about being pregnant?
It was, there was no happiness there. I didn't have room to feel happiness. My son that was here was priority.
Has this affected how you interact with people in your life?
All the time.
Can you tell us about that?
I don't trust anyone. Especially with my kids.
I want to talk a little bit about how this has affected your family, your immediate family. Can you tell us about that?
It's caused a lot of conflict between me and my husband.
How long have you guys been married?
5 years.
And that conflict, can you tell us about that?
My husband feels a lot of guilt for what has happened, but he's also tried to distance himself,
And how does that make you feel?
unsupported.
What about any of your children? Has this affected them apart from Jesus?
My second son does not understand why he can't have Raymond in his life anymore. And I don't want to have to explain to an 11-year-old why.
So let's talk a little bit about how you have seen this affect Jesus. What is the biggest, if any, change you see in him?
He's not the happy kid that he used to be. The innocence isn't there anymore. I thought I was going to lose my son because of this.
Did you seek any help for him?
He spent a week at Clarity Hospital when I was 39 weeks pregnant for having thoughts of harming himself.
How else have you seen this affect Jesus?
He's distanced himself from a lot of people. He's not as outgoing. He has anxiety. He doesn't like being around groups. He doesn't have as many friends.
As a mother, how does that make you feel?
I feel so sad for him that he doesn't get to enjoy being a teenager. He had to grow up really fast.
Is there anything else you would like this jury to know?
I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for accountability. He needs to be held accountable for what he did.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Defense?
Is it fair to say that Jesus had some mental health issues prior to February of 2021?
He's had. Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, is this witness excused?
From the state, yes.
Yes, sir.
Well, you're still under the oath. Remember to keep your voice up so that everyone can hear.
Sure.
All right. State, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Jesus, tell us after this verdict, what is going through your mind? How are you feeling?
I didn't expect to be here. When you have something like this, so dramatic, you There's so little you have to say. My life changed that night for the rest of my life. I, like my mom said, I don't hang out with as many friends, like large groups. I don't like contact. My emotional state has changed a lot after what has happened. And I just wish a 16-year-old as myself wouldn't have to know as much about the court system as I do. No offense, I hated this process. And in no way, like my mom, am I seeking revenge. I feel relieved with the verdict. When I came into the courtroom and sat in front of you all, I wasn't expecting a guilty. And honestly, this will change my life forever. I will not be the same person as I was 3 years ago. I was a lot more lighthearted. Now I'm secluded myself from a lot of things. But one thing I'm doing is I'm going to better myself from this situation, and I'm going to keep continuing on the path of success. And speaking in front of you all, there's so many hidden emotions that I have within myself that it's even hard for me to express to my own mother. And I just want the jury to know, and everybody here to know, that what happened to me wasn't my fault. It was yours.
Has this impacted in any way your identity?
Yes, when this first happened, I questioned if I was gay. I wonder, if it made me gay. I didn't know my sexuality. I didn't know who I was as a person. I still don't. I'm striving to be a nice person, striving, to be a good citizen. And at the end of the day, when I walk out of this courtroom, I don't have to come back. And that's a feeling, not everybody gets.
Are you seeking some closure?
Continuously, no. The verdict we had gotten was has satisfied me already. I'm happy that, I even got the opportunity to, express myself to a court. And because not everybody gets that, not everybody has the opportunity to express what has happened to them. And I'm happy that I'm sitting here and expressing to you all what has changed my life forever.
We have no further questions, sir.
Mr. Vince.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, is the witness excused?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your
You
Honor.
may step down. State, call your next witness.
The state rests.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take about a 10-minute break. And the reason why we're taking the 10-minute break, it's my understanding that the defense has a witness that is going to appear by Zoom. And so we just need to set that up, okay? All right, everyone, please rise for the jurors. Ms. Ramirez, are you there?
I'm here, Your Honor.
All right, so because you're testifying by Zoom, just make sure you keep your voice up. You're not too loud because I want to make sure that the jurors are able to hear you and that the court reporter is able to hear you. So if for some reason it appears that you're talking too loud, we'll let you know, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
All right. So if you could speak a little bit higher than what you just answered me in, I think all of the jurors will be able to hear.
Can they hear now?
All right, so I think that's loud enough. If
Okay.
I'll check with them, okay?
Okay.
And everyone, please make sure you speak loudly in the microphones and no whispering.
Raymond, yeah.
I didn't say any names. The state has rested. Defense, you may call your next witness.
Thank you. We call Ariana Ramirez.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Ramirez is testifying by video. Normally, witnesses appear in person. State, do you have any objection to this witness appearing by Zoom?
No.
Defense, any objection to this witness appearing by Zoom?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Alejandro, do you have any objections to this person appearing by Zoom? All right, Ms. Ramirez, if you can raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand. And ladies and gentlemen, if for some reason you're not able to hear, if you'll just raise your hand, because sometimes people don't know if they're talking too loud or not loud enough. All right, defense.
Thank you. Ms. Ramirez, can you state your name and spell your first and last name?
Yes. Ariadna Ramirez. Ariadna Ramirez. Ramirez.
Ms. Ramirez, how do you know Raymond?
He's my brother-in-law. My brother.
Okay. And were you present for most of the trial?
Every day.
And where are you now?
Right now, I'm currently in Billings, Montana for work.
Okay. And what do you do for work?
I'm a pharmacy technician.
All right. And so you're filling in up there?
They're short staff. Yes, sir.
All right. If possible, do you wish you could be here for Raymond?
I do.
And again, you've been here for pretrial settings, trials, everything, right?
Everything.
Tell me, when did you meet Raymond?
16 years ago. He was about 10 years old.
Now, you're aware that the jury found Raymond guilty, right?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. I want to focus on the Raymond that you know, interact with. Tell me about that Raymond.
What's not to tell? He's amazing. He has the biggest heart that I've ever met. I'm sorry.
Okay, take your time.
He's the first one you invite over to any family function. If you need anything, this family called Raymond. This family has always called Raymond. As Regina and Jay know, he's your best friend. He is what everyone has. He was brought to this world and this family for a reason.
Ms. Ramirez, has he been living with his mother?
Yes, sir.
How old, if you know, how old is she?
Oh, Gracie, my mother-in-law is 60.
Is she older? She's an older woman?
Yes.
Okay.
Not as old as my mom, but yes.
All right. And Ms. Ramirez, does Raymond, while he was living there, did he help his mother? And what did he do around the house?
Helped around the house, helped around everywhere that he could, that you didn't even have to ask him.
Has Raymond ever been arrested before, been in trouble before?
No. Since I've been around, no.
How is, obviously we've talked about how this incidents or these events have split the family, but just speaking from your perspective, how is it going to impact you that now that Raymond is going to prison?
Sorry.
Okay.
No one wins today. No one will be the same. A mother is losing her son. A family is losing an amazing human being around. And not because of the help. No, because of the presence, because of the attitude, because of the doings, because of everything that you can imagine.
Ms. Ramirez, obviously this jury has a difficult decision in front of them. Is there anything else that you want them to know about Raymond before they make that decision?
Of course, if I could just say we don't want him to go away, the minimal, he's not what they have viewed or listened to by the state or anyone else. I know that it's fair, it's their job, it's their duty. But if he does not deserve to be punished in this way, no one would want to be in that seat. But I just ask that they're so fair and know that he's not done anything wrong. He's a great person. And then some. We all lose today. We lose him for whatever time they are gonna put him away for. It's not fair.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. I'll pass the witness.
Hi, Mr. Ramirez. My name is Raymond Caldana. I'm one of the prosecutors. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Just if you could talk just a little bit louder. But
Yes,
I
of course. I have a microphone. Can you hear me now?
yes, that's better.
Okay, great. Mr. Ramirez, you stated that Mr. Alejandro is your brother?
Brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law.
Correct.
And you've known him for 16 years?
Correct.
Okay. You stated that Mr. Alejandro is amazing, correct?
I'm sorry?
That he is amazing
Amazing.
and that he has the biggest heart that from the person that you've ever met.
Correct.
Okay. And that he would be the first person that you would invite over, right?
Correct.
And he's somebody that would help you with anything, right?
Correct.
So if you would invite him over to your home, I think it's fair to say that Mr. Alejandro would help around the house, right?
He could, yes.
And you understand that that is the same exact way that Regina felt with Mr. Alejandro. You understand that, right?
Objection calls for speculation.
Re-ask your question, please.
Would it surprise you to know that Regina felt the same way about how you feel about Mr. Alejandro?
Objection calls for speculation on how Regina feels.
You know, it's
Overruled.
part of the evidence.
Overrule. You can answer the question if you can.
I mean, I heard her. I understand her.
So you would agree with me that if somebody that you trust does something that violates the trust, it would disappoint you, right?
It would disappoint me.
Do you have any children, Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, sir. I have 2 children.
Okay. And you understand that as a mom, I would imagine you would do anything to protect your children, right?
Till the day I die.
And you know that Mr. Alejandro has been found guilty of indecency with a child by contact, right?
I heard.
Meaning that he sexually assaulted a child, in this case, Jesus, right?
I heard.
So knowing what you have testified today and what you have learned about this case, would you allow your children to be with Mr. Alejandro unsupervised?
Before what I heard or after what I heard?
After.
That was the jury and you guys thought or allegations. I do not believe that.
Okay, well, I'm gonna ask the question again, okay?
Okay.
Knowing what you've told us today about Mr. Alejandro, and what you have learned about this crime, would you allow your children to be with Mr. Alejandro unsupervised by an adult?
There is no answer I could give you of if you're seeking a yes or no. So I would need facts.
We can see this.
No further questions.
All right. Is this witness excused?
Yeah, right. May she stay on the Zoom on mute if she wishes?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, if there's no objections.
No objections.
All right.
I made the standing up, but I'm gonna do it out of order. Judge,
Okay.
may I introduce the rest of?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Go ahead.
My name is Michael Schmidt, and I am Raymond's cousin.
My name is Samantha E.
I can't quite hear her.
My name is Samantha E.
Amanda,
Samantha
last name?
EADY, and I'm Raymond's cousin.
All right. And so, ladies and gentlemen, usually witnesses would testify, but both the state and the defense have agreed to allow the persons here to just announce their names to you and how they're related to Mr. Alejandro. The defense was given an opportunity, if he wished, to call them as witnesses, but this is the way they wish to proceed. Does everyone understand? All right, you may continue.
My name is Caitlin E. I'm Raymond's cousin. My name is Laura Hernandez, and I'm Raymond's aunt.
John Hernandez, and I'm his uncle.
Susana Mireles, I'm his aunt.
Robert Urbazo, I'm his uncle.
Maria Urbazo, I'm his aunt.
Timothy Guerros, he's my brother-in-law.
John Hernandez, I'm his cousin.
Thank you. Our next witness will be Jose Ramirez.
All right. All right. Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. You can lower your hand. Just make sure you keep your voice up so everyone can hear. All right. Defense.
Thank you. Sir, if you could state your full name.
My full name is Jose Angel Ramirez. I'm Raymond's brother, older brother.
And what do you go by?
Angel.
Angel, you're well aware of the situation, right?
Our family's situation, yes.
What do you work? Where do you work?
I'm a CDL driver, I'm a truck driver.
Okay. How long have you been doing that?
I've been doing that for 3 years.
And how old are you?
I am 41.
All right, so safe to say you've known Raymond his whole life.
It's my baby brother.
Now, again, you're aware that the jury has found him guilty, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, just from you personally, tell me about the Raymond that you know.
As you've heard through testimonies, he can be your best friend. It's everything you would want in a brother, everything you would want in a brother-in-law, everything you'd want in a cousin and an uncle and a friend. He's the glue to our family, he's the glue to our family.
Yeah.
He's
Sorry, go ahead.
he's a great, amazing person. That can't be said enough.
And does he help take care of your mother?
Raymond helps everybody in every situation in every way he can.
He's I guess a caring person.
Raymond will become your best friend the day you meet him, within 5 minutes.
What kind of impact, just again, from that perspective, that side of the family, what kind of impact was it gonna have that Raymond is going to prison?
What happens when the glue doesn't hold anymore? There's no winner or losers here. I could have walked out with my brother yesterday and I'd be having to help my other brother.
And to be fair, I think you just said you love both your brothers, right?
This is a family that there is no sides in here. There isn't left or right. There isn't you won, I won. Everybody loses today.
And to be fair, obviously you love your brother on that side. You love Raymond. You're just here to testify
That's
about.
my sister-in-law. That's my nephew. That's my brother. That's all my family. It is my job to protect them. If anybody failed, I failed.
And so again, you're just here to testify about the Raymond that you know and grew up with, right?
Yes, sir.
Obviously, this jury has a difficult decision ahead of them. Is there anything else that you want them to know about Raymond before they make that decision?
My brother still believes in the judicial system. That's why he chose for y'all to do the job you have to do. He had the choice, and he chose to leave his life in your hands. And again, nobody wins here. Nobody wins. Thank y'all for what y'all do.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
State?
Just briefly, it's on help.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So Raymond is your brother, right? And you love him. I'll just need you to answer out loud for the court.
Yes, ma'am.
And of course, you don't want to see anything bad happen to him.
Of course.
And you also said that you love your entire family, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I believe your sister-in-law mentioned that your mother's elderly.
My wife, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Your wife mentioned that your mother is elderly. So you guys all help your mother, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You're all there for each other.
Yes, ma'am.
And you talked about how obviously your brother Jose Garza
Yes, ma'am.
and his wife and their son,
Yes, ma'am.
they're all part of your family.
Yes, ma'am.
And you love all of them.
Yes, ma'am.
So how do you feel about what Raymond did to them?
Again, going back to what my wife said, facts. But at the end of the day, without facts, that's my nephew.
So
How do I feel? In any situation, it's my job to protect him. And again, as I stated, I failed. If those are the facts, I failed. But I failed here as well.
You felt what? I'm sorry.
I failed in protecting my brother, because if those are not the facts, and without any facts, I can't take him out of those chains.
And you understand the jury has found him guilty.
That's what he chose. He chose to put his life in their hands.
And I guess do you know the facts of this case?
I do. Or at least I feel I do.
And where did you hear those facts from? Who did you hear them from?
From everybody. Again, that's all my family.
But you weren't present here during the testimony or during the trial?
No,
And so would you agree with me that this jury,
actually, excuse me, I was present some days.
would you agree with me that this jury?
On the last mistrial, I apologize.
Would you agree with me? Listen to my question, okay? Would you agree with me that this jury, having been here all the days and heard all the testimony and reviewed all the evidence, have a better understanding of the facts in this case?
To be able to come up with the solution they came up with, that's their opinion and that's how they felt. I have to be okay with it.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Defense?
Angel, I think you said it. Obviously, you're torn between two brothers, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And
Yes, sir.
you respect the decision that the jury made, right?
I have to.
Raymond he voluntarily turned himself in once he found out he had a warrant. You're aware of that?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. And that was back in 2022, I believe.
Been 4 years. We've been going through this as a family.
Okay. And he's been on bond, meaning he's been out living with your mom the entire
Yes, sir.
time.
All right, so y'all are speaking over each other
my
and it's
fault.
making, no. I know sometimes people get in a conversational mode, but if you could wait till the question is finished, then answer, it makes it difficult for the court reporter when both people are talking at the same time.
Apologize about my nerves.
No problem. All right, you may continue.
Thank you. So he's been on bond.
Yes, sir.
And to your knowledge, has he violated any of the conditions of bond?
Not one.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
No further questions from the state?
All right, is this witness excused?
From the state, yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down.
Sorry about wearing a t-shirt today.
Oh, no, it's not a problem. No problem. All right, defense, call your next witness.
Roxanne Alejandro.
All right, if you can raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
My name is Roxanne Alejandro.
All right, defense.
Thank you. Roxanne, now, although you weren't present for the trial, you're aware of why we're here, right?
Yes,
Okay, and that the jury has found Raymond guilty,
yes.
and you respect that decision?
I mean, I have to.
Well, I mean, tell me, how do you know Raymond?
He is my twin brother.
So obviously you've known him literally your entire life.
Yes.
Now, how old are you?
26.
Are you working, going to school?
I'm in school.
Okay. So obviously you grew up with Raymond your entire life.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Tell me about how he was growing up.
Very overprotective, very loving, just a typical sibling.
How was he in school? Did you guys hang out together? What kinds of things does Raymond like to do?
And he always had his friends, and I always had my friends. We were just always together growing up. So
Do you live here in San Antonio?
yes.
So safe to say you see Raymond frequently.
Yes.
Tell me about his relationship with his mom and the types of things that he does.
I'd probably say he's my mom's favorite. He's always been very loving and taking care of everyone. He does a lot for her and for all of us. If I ever need something, I can always count on him.
How is it going to impact you and your family with Raymond's sentence?
Sorry.
Okay, take your time.
It's gonna be hard. But I mean, I have to deal with it. So
And safe to say, Raymond has a lot of support here, right?
yes.
When Raymond gets out, if it's a parole or a registration, I mean, will you and the family continue to support him
Yes.
and make sure that whatever things he has to do, he follows those?
Yes, definitely.
And he's followed everything he's supposed to do while he's been on bond, is that right?
Yes.
So this jury has a difficult decision to make. What if anything would you like them to know about Raymond before they make that decision?
Just that I believe, y'all, you personally don't know him, so of course you're gonna, go with your guts and whatever y'all determine. I mean, if it would be the lowest sentence, then okay. But again, that is y'all's decision as so it's out of my hands and it's out of everyone else's.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness.
Stay. All right, is this witness excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may step down. All right. Yes, of course. All right, everyone, what we'll do is we'll take a short break and then I'll bring you back in, all right? Everyone, please rise for the jurors. All right, everyone, please be seated. Defense, I saw you speaking with your client. I don't know if you needed to speak with him I'll give you a chance to speak with him. And State, if you could step outside so they can have some time. Yes.
Yes, sir. We're good.
Oh, you're good?
We're
Okay.
resting.
All right, so here's the other issue. The other issue is the jury charge. So are both sides stipulating that he's not eligible for probation?
I think that's for the jury, but
No, I mean, my question is, are you all stipulating that he's not eligible for probation? I just need a yes or no answer.
Yeah, we're stipulating yes, it's not eligible. We are stipulating that he is not eligible for probation based on the evidence that was introduced in the guilt innocent phase.
Okay, all right. All right, everyone just have a seat and I'm gonna review the charge. Now you all want to say, defense wants to say he's eligible when you put in your opening statement that he's not eligible. Did I hear incorrectly?
I mean, in opening, I think defense argued in opening that he's gonna ask for the minimum, which is 2 years.
it's a question for the jury.
No, that's not my question. I want everybody to hear me clearly. What I heard in the punishment phase was that he wasn't eligible. I'm just trying to hear what people said.
I told the jury that he was not eligible for probation.
I think I said I was asking for the minimum of 2 years, which could be probation.
All right, everybody's playing semantics, that's fine. So what you all both agreed to was that he wasn't eligible. But, all right, we're taking our break. They're printing out the charge. All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read to you the charge of the court on punishment. Again, you do not have to memorize it. You will be given the original when you go back to deliberate. Members of the jury, by your verdict returned in this case, you have found the defendant, Raymond Alejandro, guilty of the offense of indecency with a child by sexual contact as charged in the indictment. It is necessary that the jury assess the punishment for this offense. You're instructed that the punishment for indecency with a child by sexual contact is confinement in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Institutional Division for any term of not more than 20 years or less than 2 years. Therefore, you will assess the punishment of the defendant for a term of not more than 20 years or less than 2 years. In addition to imprisonment, an individual found guilty of the offense of indecency with a child by sexual contact may be punished by a fine not to exceed $10,000. And if you choose to assess a fine in addition to imprisonment, you will assess such fine and so state in your verdict. If you assess a fine, it is not paid to the victim or victims, if any, but is paid into the registry of the court. The defendant in this case has applied on written sworn motion for community supervision, stating, among other things, that he has never been convicted of a felony in this or any other state. Our statute provides that where a defendant is found guilty of the offense of indecency with a child by sexual contact, if the victim of the offense was not younger than 14 years of age at the time the offense was committed, and the jury assesses the punishment at not more than 10 years, and the jury finds that the defendant has never been convicted of a felony in this or any other state, the jury may, within its discretion, recommend community supervision during the good behavior of the defendant. If the jury does recommend community supervision, it will be granted by the court. If there is any evidence before you that the defendant may have committed any offense or act of misconduct other than the offense of which you have convicted him, you are instructed that you may use that evidence, if any, in assessing punishment in this case, but only if you find from the evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant committed such other offense or act of misconduct, if any. In the event you have a reasonable doubt as to whether any other such offense or act of misconduct was committed, or as to whether the defendant was involved in such other offense or act of misconduct, then you will wholly disregard the evidence, if any, which may relate to any such matter. You are instructed that the defendant may testify in his own behalf if he chooses to do so. But if he elects not to do so, that fact cannot be taken by a circumstance against him, nor prejudice him in any way. The defendant has elected not to testify in this punishment phase of trial, and you are instructed that you cannot and must not refer or allude to that fact throughout your deliberations or take it in consideration for any purpose whatsoever. In your deliberations, you may consider evidence introduced during the guilt phase of the trial, as well as any evidence introduced at the punishment phase of the trial. Under the instruction herein given, it will not be proper for you, in determining the penalty to be assessed, to fix the same by lot, chance, any system of averages, or any other method than by a full, fair, and free exercise of the opinion of the individual jurors under the evidence admitted before you. The length of time for which the defendant is imprisoned may be reduced by the award of parole. Under the law applicable in this case, if the defendant is sentenced to a term of imprisonment, the defendant will not become eligible for parole until the actual time served equals 1/2 of the sentence imposed. If the defendant is sentenced to a term of less than 4 years, the defendant must serve at least 2 years before the defendant is eligible for parole. Eligibility for parole does not guarantee that parole will be granted. It cannot be accurately predicted how the parole law might apply to this defendant if sentenced to a term of imprisonment, because the application of that law will depend on decisions made by parole authorities. You may consider the existence of the parole law. You are not to consider the manner in which the parole law may be applied to this particular defendant. A suitable form is attached hereto for your verdict if you should care to use the same. However, such form is not intended to influence you in any way in arriving at your verdict. In any event, your verdict must be unanimous, in writing, and signed by your presiding juror. Respectfully submitted, Judge Stephanie Boyd, 187 District Court, Bexar County, Texas, and suitable forms are attached. State, are you prepared to proceed?
We're gonna reserve, Judge.
All right, defense, you may proceed.
Thank you. I know I told you in closing in the guilt innocence phase that I would stop talking. I promise this will be the last time you have to hear from me. The reason that we put some of Raymond's family members up are not to take away from the verdict. They're not to question that. They're not to question anything about Jesus or Regina or anything else. We focus solely on Raymond. We just look, what you heard in the guilt innocence phase was obviously Raymond's a bad person. Raymond's terrible, and obviously you found that he committed acts beyond a reasonable doubt. But you didn't get to hear the rest of Raymond's story. We're more than the worst thing we've ever done in our lives. And I think you can see from the emotions and the amount of support that he has here. I mean, look, everyone can get on there and say Raymond's a great person. Raymond's a great person. They're here today to support Raymond. We wanted you to see that. We picked a few people that know him best. His twin, his brother, who's in a very difficult position. Again, I think his brother said it best. There's no winners. He's in the middle, right? He's not here to say it happened, it didn't happen, or I'm on this side or this side. Again, I called him as a witness just so he could tell you guys a little bit about Raymond, other than what you heard. We heard that he's a kind person. He's a good person. Takes care of his mother. Again, I don't want you guys to think that we were trying to question anything or belittle anyone. We just it's hard to put into words Raymond's entire life, in some testimony. You can think about your entire lives and the worst incidents of your life. But we're more than that. Raymond is more than that. He's been on bond for almost 4 years, 0 violations. He's followed every single order that this court has put in front of him. That's a good indication that he can follow court orders. We talked a little bit about sex offender registration. Okay. So in addition to any sentence, whether it's prison or probation, he's gonna be doing that his entire life. Okay. We all know there's restrictions. There's restrictions on your phone and laptop. There's restrictions on where you can live, where you can go. Again, so his punishment is not just whatever you give him. It's gonna follow him his entire life. So I just ask you to consider that. Now, in your verdict form, it tells you, obviously it's 2 to 20 years. And it tells you, basically, if you give him 10 years or less, and you find these 3 things, you can grant him community supervision. The court said that they would follow that. We heard that he's never been in trouble before, never been arrested, so he's not a convicted felon. So again, you're the ultimate decider on what happens. We saw that in the first phase. We're going to see that in the second phase. If you're not inclined to give him community supervision probation, I do ask that you consider the low end. Like I said, if he gets 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, he's going to have to serve at least 2 years. And just think 2 years ago, it's easy to throw numbers around 2, 8, 12, 15. We do it all the time, but just kind of consider where you were at 2 years ago, or what's happened in the last 2 years, what's happened in the last 5 years, 10 years. Just please don't just throw numbers out there. Consider them. They're real. Again, I wish I never get good at this part. And so, like I said, I can tell you, I can't tell you any better about the person that Raymond is and his family. Okay. You can see that he's going to have a support system, which is important. He's going to need it. Just like Jesus, he has a support system. He needs
5
it.
minutes.
Thank you, Judge. And that's helped him, stay on track. He's followed all of his bond conditions. He's gonna have to have that support system when he comes out. or follow all the probation conditions, whatever you guys decide. And again, the only thing I can ask of you is the same thing that you guys did in the first phase. Just please carefully consider each and everyone's opinion, and just please, when you're throwing numbers out there, just again, take a second to think 5 years. What has happened in the last 5 years? 6 years, 2 years. Just take a minute to consider it, because it's easy to throw numbers around and then settle on something, whether it's probation or prison. But just think of the impact. Like I said, there are no winners here. I don't envy your decision. I don't envy your position. But I truly appreciate and respect that each and every one of you came back on a Saturday and Sunday. And again, that you've taken the time to really think about this case and deliberate. And the only thing I can do is please just do that same thing here, and please take into consideration the good side of Raymond, the other, 25 years and however many days that wasn't that one day. And I do ask, consider probation, or at the very least, 2 years. Thank you.
All right. State.
Thank you, Judge. All the witnesses that defense brought in here today, witnesses that are here today, they have one thing in common, and that is they love him and they support him, and they trust him. Mr. Ramirez, his brother, stated he's everything you would want in a brother. He helps everyone. Ms. Ramirez stated on Zoom, everything you would want. I'm sorry, it's amazing, big heart. He's a best friend. And Ms. Alejandro also expressed the same. It's clear. The family suffered. It caused a lot of pain and hurt. But I want to make something very clear. This verdict, the decision, that's not causing the pain. It's his action. Why we're here today. He's damaged the family. He's damaged Regina. And most importantly, he's damaged Jesus. And he told you this is something that is going to be, he's going to feel this forever. Defense went over the jury instructions, and he's trying to argue for probation. He's not eligible for probation because Jesus was 13 years old when this happened. He testified. His mom testified. His date of birth is November 23rd, 2007. Just remember, November 2007. The offense occurred on February 21st, 2021. February 2021, date of birth, November 2007. He's 13. He's not eligible for probation. That takes us to the sentence of 2 to 20 years. I told you about some factors. It's not an easy task. I recognize that, especially because you all may be in different parts in the range. But one thing that I can tell you to help you get to the unanimous number is, yes, defense brought in his criminal history. There wasn't any evidence that was presented, so therefore that's not something to consider. That is a mitigating argument that defense is using. Here are my aggravating factors. Consider the age. He's 13. This isn't, as it is for an adult, this is difficult. Imagine for a 13-year-old boy. Imagine when you all were teenagers. That time of your life that you're starting to go into a phase where you're no longer a kid. You're going through changes in your life. It's confusing. That may be the most vulnerable time of your life. Consider the manner in which he did this. Indecency with a child contact can be performed over and under the clothing. That doesn't take away from abusing somebody over the clothing, but if it's under the clothing, there's already an intent in there to go further. Consider the duration and the times. We brought evidence to you. It happened twice within 24 hours. But most importantly, consider the impact. Does this have, what impact did this have on Regina and on Jesus? Regina just told you, this is something you do not hear in guilt and innocence. She just found out she was pregnant. That should be a happy moment. You're gonna be a mom to another child. You should be celebrating this moment. But she's also a mom to Jesus. And she had to go through this process with him. That is aggravating. Remember what Jesus said? What did it take him one day to say something? Because he thought about it. What was he going to do once he talks? Dividing the family. That's exactly what he thought, and that's exactly what happened. How much strength, how much courage does a 13-year-old boy have to speak up? We tell our children, let us know if something happens. Let me know if I can help you. Let me know if something is bothering you.
5 minutes.
That experience, going through this, and then thinking about what's going to happen, hesitating whether or not to tell your parents, that needs to be considered. Jesus is a brave young man for speaking up, for taking the stand, for answering defense's hard questions, and to tell you what happened to him. These details, this sexual experience that we don't like to talk about, he just did it. And I think the reason why he did it is because of Mr. Alejandro. Defense, I understand defense's argument, and he's doing his job. I understand that portion. But I need to emphasize this because what he did is permanent. It's not something that we just forget easily. It's something you have to learn to live with for the rest of your life. You have the exhibits from the first portion of the trial, and you've heard the impact and the testimony from this sentence, Judge, ladies and gentlemen. I ask that you start in the middle. 2 to 20, you start at 8 to 10. And use the factors, yes, the arguments that defense gave and the arguments that I'm giving you to go up and down and tell me what is the best outcome. I'm not going to ask for a number, but I am going to ask for a just outcome in this case. And I will say that 2 years for a experience that he has to endure for the rest of his life is not just. Once again, I thank you for your service. Thank you.
All right, everyone, please rise for the jurors. And Deputy Laura, if you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's the court's understanding that you've reached a verdict as to punishment. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is that verdict unanimous?
Yes.
All right, if you'll hand the verdict form to the deputy, please. All right. It says we assess this punishment at confinement in the institutional division for a term of 2 years, and there is no fine. Does anyone wish to have the jury polled?
No, Judge.
All right, you may be seated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your service. The deputy is going to take you back to the jury room, and I'll come back and speak with you for a few moments. All right, everyone, please rise for the jurors. All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, the jury having sentenced you to 2 years, the court will follow as required the juror's verdict, which is 2 years in the prison. The court will sentence you to 2 years in the prison. Give you credit for any time served. And there's to be Chapter 62 registration. Is there any no contact state?
One moment, Judge. Yes, Judge, we would ask for no contact order for the complainant.
All right, and there's to be no contact with the complainant. All right, anything else with regards to sentencing from either side, state?
We would just like to do a victim impact statement, Judge.
All right, anything else with regards to sentencing defense?
No, Your Honor, just for the record, the court has signed the right of appeal.
All right. And Mr. Alejandro, did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendants' Rights to Appeal? All right, you do have a right to appeal as this was a jury trial. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. And because of the nature of the offense, you will have to register for the law. Do you understand? All right. It's my understanding that there's to be victim impact. There's to be no response. In this court, I require that everyone treat you with respect. So just listen and internalize what is being said. All right, you may proceed.
Right. I'm writing this letter with a heavy heart and an overwhelming sense of pain. What you did to Jay is something that has shattered our family and definitely left deep emotional wounds that feel like they will never heal. The impact of your actions on Jay is substantial. I thought I was going to lose my son because of this. He is suffering in ways that no child should ever have to experience. And I fear that the emotional repercussions will follow him for a long time. I had to visit him in a psychiatric facility 39 weeks pregnant. Watching him struggle being trapped in a place that reflects the pain and despair he was experiencing. It infuriates me that he was pushed to that point, battling suicidal thoughts and feelings of hopelessness that no child should ever have to endure. We feel a profound sense of injustice and frustration that he has faced such a dark reality, and it angers me to think that the world around him has let him down. I want you to feel the same pain and hopelessness he lives with every day. While Jay has worked through his anger, mine still rages. It fuels my determination to fight for his healing and well-being, ensuring that he knows he's not alone in the struggle. You may not fully grasp the magnitude of your actions. Your brother will never be the same after this. He will struggle to be the father and husband he once was, and his ability to trust will forever be altered. He is in pain for his son, but he is also hurting as a brother. He loved you deeply, and that love doesn't simply disappear because of a terrible mistake. I cannot begin to fathom how you could betray my trust in such a horrific manner. The violation of a child is an unforgivable act, and it has irrevocably changed the way I view the world now. This is a burden we wish we could take away from him, but we cannot. As a parent, our primary duty is to protect our children. And knowing that you chose to hurt Jay in such an unimaginable way has caused me to be guarded with everyone my children interact with. I want you to understand that this is not just a personal matter. It affects our entire family. It has caused issues in my marriage with your brother that are still attempting to be mended today. Our marriage will never be the same. We will always be seeking to rebuild our relationship to feel whole again. I urge you to take a moment to reflect on the gravity of your actions and the pain they have caused. Your choices have consequences, and it is crucial that you seek the help you need to understand the depths of those actions. Your actions have placed an insurmountable barrier between us and the world around us. This letter is not about forgiveness or reconciliation. It's about accountability. I cannot imagine how you will begin to confront what you have done. But I hope you recognize the seriousness of this situation and the need for change.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.